Hello everyone, this is King11 and welcome to a video whether you are coming from or haven't seen yet my speedrun video on acquiring the Llama.E Tijin this week between August 6th and August 12th. I would like to showcase this video, of course, on my channel to explain to you how this speedrun was possible to be done in quite literally 3 minutes 20 seconds. So this all comes down to a unfortunately overseen broken script in the salvage yard property, where I guess Rockstar hasn't really anticipated something like this to ever happen, especially since I suppose they haven't really foreseen them being as lazy as to repeating a claimable vehicle in the future for GTA Online from a previous weekly update where you could have been able to claim it or was obtainable, but you never really stored it. You just have it sitting in your salvage yard property, because obviously who would just have a claimable vehicle sitting in your salvage yard property that could be a repeat vehicle for a future weekly update, right? So thankfully this has been possible to be done this week, since I didn't really think about it last week, especially since I didn't expect something like this to happen with the Comet S2 Cabra, which is parked right next to the Tijin, both of which were claimable at the same time of a weekly update back in March this year. So this definitely did spark my curiosity of interest to be able to make this video for you guys. So first of all, if you have already stolen the vehicle from that weekly update back in March and you have it sitting in your salvage yard property, this bug is achievable and possible to be done in your speedrun, which definitely cuts all of your time, especially since why would you need a second claimable Llama.E Tijin anyways. But so I started off my speedrun timer when I officially confirmed, this robbery with select vehicle. So obviously wading through the unskippable, unfortunately unskippable, yappity from this dude. He's speaking about how you're going to do this robbery, which unfortunately I can't skip. I just go ahead and do the first on mission 1 in session setup mission for GTA Online, the Gangbanger Robbery, which was the Police Maverick, which I could have possibly saved a lot more time if I just decided to start the robbery, maybe switch session, but I wanted to give a little bit of, hope that something could be possible. Maybe I could have just started the thing, I don't think about it, but maybe if Rockstar does something again in the near future that you could, once again they decide to throw the Comet S2 or something, maybe I'll try testing it then, but it's not a very easy speedrun to do. It's very once in a million, depending on Rockstar's laziness, which was fortunate twice in a row. That's billions to one. That's trillions to one to be able to do something like this. So obviously I did a bit of this setup. So of course, after doing this little fuse box thing that could still be in the mission, I could have just changed the session. Maybe I could have saved a lot of time doing that. I decided that when I switch into an invite-only lobby, you basically go into an on mission 0 public-ish session, status in GTA Online, if I must call it. So as you can see in the mini-map right over here, while I'm trying to get back to my salvage yard property, you can see some setup icons. One next to this ammunition next to Simeon's, the other one just a bit to the east near the waterways place, or next to the LS Customs. Though I'm not 100% sure of what the other setup could have been for, because my memory has kind of not been doing the Gangbanger Robbery so often. I can guarantee this is the weapon stash from the ammunition that you have to go to pick up the bag of weapons. So there's definitely this salvage yard setup icon right over here, guarantee. And I'd just like you to keep that in your memory when I show you this next segment. Because it all comes down to this. When I finally enter the salvage yard, where I could have still had access to those setups in the session, but I don't, because now I've entered the salvage yard. I prove to you, first of all, that this vehicle is technically acquired, especially since even before I get to the computer, it's already been labeled as acquired before I get to the computer, so therefore I could stop the timer right there. But if I try to, let's say, source another vehicle on the list, the cooldown doesn't even exist, which I've explained in my last video, which I unfortunately never had a chance to record because I didn't even think about something like this ever happening. The cooldown just doesn't happen. You could right away go into the next vehicle that you can actually steal. and do setups for, which may definitely take the guaranteed time of maybe 30 minutes or so, depending on how long it takes for the robbery setups. But still, when I finally go to the public session and I go into the map, you can see those two setups that I should have had. One right next to the ammunition next to Simeon's, that's right over here, and somewhere right over here, they're not there anymore. So that means the robbery was still technically available, but the moment I entered the salvage yard, the property confused it, thinking that I already claimed the vehicle since it is now in the salvage yard property. So the next time I officially entered the salvage yard property with the vehicle already there, which isn't from this robbery, was from a previous robbery, the game got confused and thought, now that you've entered this property and you see the vehicle, it's been claimed already. So why does this robbery still exist with its setups? Erase all memory, skip everything up until the point where you've completed the robbery and beyond. So that is how I was able to predict this timer. At the end of the day, it's a very simple speedrun, very, very simple, but very, very rare to do. Especially since this is a 1 in a trillion chance Rockstar decided to be lazy enough to repeat a claimable vehicle from a previous weekly update within a year, and on top of that, give it the same plates, give it the same looks, customization options as the previous vehicle, which is 1 in a quadrillion. And to be able to make this video thinking to myself last week, Rockstar is just gonna do this once and it's never happening again. No, that was the 1 in quintillion chance that Rockstar decided for the next week, which I was fortunate enough to actually record to showcase to you guys that it's actually true, that this bug actually exists, that you can complete a robbery by not claiming the vehicle. The game gets confused that you claimed it already, because the vehicle still exists as a claimable option in your salvage yard property that you have not yet claimed as a personal vehicle. So I hope you guys found this video highly informative, interesting, and fun as hilarious too. The fact that Rockstar's laziness actually went to the point where I could have actually been able to expose them. Like, they could have just left it last week, left the info in the dark, but they decided, nah, I'm curious, let's see this actually happen, probably. So yeah, that's this video on how I was able to do this Gangbanger Robbery in 3 minutes. I could have probably done it faster, thinking to myself, because the last time I did it, I did the full setup until I got into my salvage yard property and then realized the vehicle was already acquired even though I never acquired it. So I decided to do this much faster by simply switching to a different session and doing this. So I'm surprised it's even possible, but that's unfortunately an oversight, I suppose, if I must call it that, where Rockstar, I guess, didn't expect this to be a thing. But because they decide to repeat a robbery vehicle from a previous weekly update, the game thinks to itself still that this vehicle is that vehicle, and therefore because it exists in your property, it automatically thinks it was stolen. Weird way of thinking, but that's how the speedrun was achievable. I think I have world record now that I think of it. I don't think anyone would know about this. It's not fair. Anyway, hope you guys found this informative. And yeah, hope you guys, whoever hasn't checked it out yet, checks out my speedrun video. I'll leave a link in the description below. I'll even go into that video and leave this video's link in the description below that one, so that you can interchange between left and right. Whoever either watches A or B can go to B or A from A or B type of, you know, scenario. Thank you for watching, and yeah, have yourselves a have yourselves a good evening.